You getting a five today? This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax. Thank you.
The man, the myth, the hairpiece. There was former President Trump strutting into the court like a peacock on steroids, which is frankly an image that never gets old. Trump in court. Now, today, an appellate court judge reduced the bond he needs to post in his business fraud trial to $175 million, down from the nearly $500 million he was previously ordered to pay, despite the fact that Trump himself claimed on Truth Social less than a week ago that he has $500 million in cash. He's also been given 10 additional days to come up with that bond. Somewhat disappointing to those of us who think the judge is giving Trump a break. But in his hush money case involving Stormy Daniels, we did get a trial date today, April 15th, which caused Trump to do what he always does and lash out at the judge. Before we show you that, though, the former president posted on his Truth Social a Bible verse where he compared himself to Jesus. We're not going to read the whole Bible verse, but that was put out while he was in court for his hush money case today, where he paid off a porn star while his wife was pregnant. Now, here's the former president following his court appearance today.
This is a pure case of voter intimidation and election interference, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. This case could have been brought by the DA, but they didn't want to bring it because they said they have no case. And then they bring it anyway. As you know, DA Bragg did not want to bring this case. He was forced into it for outside reasons, and it's a disgrace that it can happen. But this was a case that could have been brought 3.5 years ago, and they decide to wait now, just during the election, so that I won't be able to campaign. I will be appealing this.
So he cannot appeal the start of the trial. After the trial, he can appeal his conviction, but he has no basis to appeal a trial date, as legal analyst Joyce Aileen pointed out today. Now, Trump then hosted a press conference following his day in court, which President Biden's campaign absolutely hammered. But before we show you that, here's what Fox News had to say about Trump's day in court.
Well, you pointed out he's also said respect to the court. He will do what he is told to do. And you think that works for him?
I do, and I think it's significant because it's in contrast to what many members of the Democrat Party do, which is say, I'm not complying, Hunter Biden. The Supreme Court justices are off their rocker, President Biden. Right? We have a lot of examples of people who disrespect the court when they disagree with their ruling. President Trump is not one of them.
That is gaslighting at its finest. Trump literally incoherently rage tweets multiple times a day, attacking the judges and prosecutors overseeing his cases, but not the first time Fox has let facts get in the way of their narrative. Now, here's the former president at his press conference.
And we'll bring crime back to law and order. We're going to get those words law and order back because our cities are a disaster.
You heard it here first. He's going to bring crime back to law and order. It's honestly pretty hard to dispute that one. He is certainly bringing crime to everything he does. He then short-circuited and said this.
Done before in this country. You can't have an election in the middle of a political season. We just had Super Tuesday, and we had a Tuesday after Tuesday already.
You can't have an election in the middle of a political season. Pretty sure that's the only time you can have an election. He then went on to do what Fox says he never does, which is attack Judge Engoron and Attorney General Letitia James.
Respect the appellate division for substantially reducing that ridiculous amount of money that was put on by a corrupt judge named Engoron. He ought to be looked at, seriously looked at, especially what he did with valuations. He's the one, he's a fraudulent valuator, where he values Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, and people say it's worth 50 to 100 times that much, the biggest experts in the business. So he ought to be looked at, and James ought to be looked at because she tried to get him. She's like the puppet master of the judge. And, you know, our state, this state, is losing tremendous prestige. It's losing its companies. It's losing its people. They're fleeing, and violent crime is flourishing. And we can't have that. We can't have that. No city should have that.
Fraudulent valuator. Of course, that's what Trump was found guilty of, fraudulent valuations. As we know, every accusation with Trump is in fact a confession.
You take a look at any one of them and you say any one of them, it wouldn't make any difference. This is all weaponization of DOJ and FBI. They raided my house in violation of a thing called the Fourth Amendment. Not allowed to do that. They raided my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. No notice, no nothing. They raided it. I can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. And we'll see how that all works out in the end. But it's illegal what they're doing. It's criminal what they're doing. And it's never been done before in this country.
That raid on Mar-a-Lago was conducted after a judge signed off on a warrant which requires probable cause. No violation of his Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures here. Now, Trump then gave a very murky answer over whether he'd be willing to take money from a foreign government in order to post his bond.
Would you ever accept money from a foreign government to pay the bond or your fines or?
No, I don't do that. I think you'd be allowed to, possibly. I don't know. I mean, if you go borrow from a big bank, many of the banks are outside of this. As you know, the biggest banks, frankly, are outside of our country. So you could do that, but I don't need to borrow money. I have a lot of money. I built a great company, but I don't want to have a crooked judge named Engoron and a crooked, horrible, the worst, I would say without question, Attorney General in the country.
I think you'd be allowed to. Of course he does. After all, this is a guy who took money from foreign governments while in office in clear violations of the Emoluments Clause and bragged about the Saudis paying him hundreds of millions of dollars.
Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me, they spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them?
Those same Saudis who rented 500 hotel rooms at his hotel while he was president before he subsequently overrode Congress in order to sell them weapons. He is literally a walking, talking national security risk with a spray tan.
We have a man who just ruled he'd like the trial to start in 21 days or something. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Not fair. It's not fair at all. He knows that, too. He's a Democrat judge. He wants to do that because they're all trying to damage Trump as much as possible. It's having the reverse effect, but maybe someday it won't. I don't know.
So there goes the former president, yet again attacking a judge overseeing his case, which has pretty much become par for the course. A Trump press conference filled with conspiracy, claiming he's a victim, and lashing out at his opponents. Now, the Biden campaign fired back at the former president immediately following this press conference and had this to say. Donald Trump is weak and desperate, both as a man and as a candidate for president. He spent the weekend golfing, the morning comparing himself to Jesus, and the afternoon lying about having money he definitely doesn't have. His campaign can't raise money. He is uninterested in campaigning outside his country club. And every time he opens his mouth, he pushes moderate and suburban voters away with this dangerous agenda. America deserves better than a feeble, confused, and tired Donald Trump. So I think that's the Biden campaign we've all been waiting for. President Biden also mocked the former president this morning after he posted this on Truth Social. Quote, "It is my great honor to be at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach tonight, awards night, to receive the Club Championship Trophy and the Senior Club Championship Trophy. I won both. A large and golfing talented membership, a great and difficult course, made the play very exciting. The qualifying match play was amazing. A large and distinguished group will be there tonight. Very exciting. Thank you." So President Biden then took a screenshot of that and posted on Twitter, quote, "Congratulations, Donald. Quite the accomplishment." So in addition to using a little bit of humor to mock the Kim Jong-un wannabe star athlete and golfer, President Biden has started to take off the gloves a little bit recently, attacking the former president more and more with a string of new digital ads and just generally stronger language against the former president.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
Jews will not replace us!
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Are you willing to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
There'll be a lot of pardons and commutations of January 6th defendants.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell your supporters now, no matter what, no violence.
And it's going to be a bloodbath.
So that was one he posted just last week. We're going to keep bringing you all the latest in this important election year. So be sure to like, subscribe, and set notifications. With Really American, I'm Justin Horwitz. Thanks.